Hi, my name is Eleonora. I am a trauma survivor. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but I have been through trauma and I am actually overcoming right now PTSD and learning to cope and get over PTSD, chronic severe PTSD. And I am making this video not because I have totally overcome PTSD, but because I have found anyways in the meantime some very helpful tools to actually cope with the illness and to get that overwhelm that can be really high to reduce a bit and my confusion to be much lower than it actually is. So I have this condition. That means I have it chronically, and unfortunately I have it right now also as I'm speaking. But I made this video because I realized I could help some people, because I have gained this information and I have understood there are ways to reduce the stress that I thought was honestly completely irreducible. And right now it has given me so much more hope for my recovery. And although I haven't processed my trauma yet totally, I want to help in the meantime someone that could be struggling with something that I thought was irreducible and unbeatable before. So I have been reading this book called Trauma and Emotional Shocks, or Waking the Tiger by Peter Levine. And it is a great book because it makes you understand that trauma in reality is not something negative, that our trauma response, the way we respond is not something negative. It doesn't make us weak. Our bodies basically go into something called freeze mode when there's trauma. So in nature, in the animal kingdom, we can either fight, flight, or freeze. So unfortunately, we've heard a lot of fight or flight, but we don't really hear much about freeze. The freeze response is that freeze that comes on when the brain thinks that there is a life or death situation, literally, and so it sends you into a freeze mode because in, let's say, the animal kingdom, in reality, being frozen could help you to not be eaten by a predator. And so unfortunately, while we still don't live in an animal kingdom up today, in the ancient times, it was much more helpful to have this response, because if you froze, you would not be eaten. And all that energy that was pent up from having frozen could then be released in the wild by running away like an animal. So animals in the wild can still do this and do this up to today. But what's very interesting is that animals who have been domesticated, that are domestic animals, can be traumatized just by like humans. So trauma in reality is just energy trapped into your body, and it's that survival energy that was not used to fight or flee. And so this is a great thing to understand, because it makes you understand that trauma is not only up here, but it's being impacted up here, it's being impacted by down here, by the body. And so while in the beginning I was a huge skeptic about these mind-body approaches, now I realize they're actually true. So I'll get to why I realized that. Another great book is The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. That is a Dutch or Dutch origin, doctor, and he has studied trauma a lot. And he is now one of the leading. I think he is like the trauma representative at Harvard or something like that. But he's like really important. Oh, sorry, I breathe because of that PTSD. Whew. So this helps also breathing. And I apologize, but I don't at the same time. Okay. And so what I am saying basically is that in reality there's a tiger in you, and this is why this book is called Waking the Tiger, because in reality releasing trauma energy and getting back to equilibrium, that is something called homeostasis, is getting over that residual energy that you should have used for your heroic battle or whatever you had to do in that situation, to get out of that situation, to fight that situation, to flee that situation, or even maybe just to stay there and just hide or protect yourself, or whatever you had to do in that situation. Unfortunately, there was a default, and so the brain misunderstood and something got stuck, the energy got stuck, and it stays within your body. So the best way to actually conquer trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms is to